guys, today basically the first thing we are going to do before we do any code is set up our environment, which is basically install a couple of tools, a code editor we are going to use to continue to actually code some stuff and so on. By the way, I already mentioned to install VS Code in a HTML video, HTML course, but then I understood that this is a little bit more details and a bit more complicated, so I had to put it in a separate video that I'm literally just doing. So that's it. So you can just don't mind that part in the HTML video. So the first thing we are gonna do is install VS Code, and mind you, I'm on Mac OS. It's a Mac system. It's Apple's. It's not Windows. So you will have small differences in Windows here and there, but ultimately it's all the same thing. So first you can go and install Visual Studio Code. And by the way, in this repository, I'm gonna link in the description of the video, you have environment setup. If you go to the lesson MD, here you have all the links and all the explanations I'm just gonna do right now, just in a textual format, right? So you have all of these things. Anyways, it might look scary. It's not really, it's just few things we are gonna get used to doing. Install now, and some stuff you're gonna get used to doing over time for coding. Anyway, so first thing we are gonna install is VS Code. So here's the link. If you open it, it'll send you to the page where you click. You'll see here download for Windows. I see download for Mac. Download it, install it, and then the VS Code, and this is the app. So you have a couple of things here. You will not see immediately the same thing I see here. First, you have here extensions, and I showed you the list of the names of the extensions you're going to install. Those are like plugins. They help you with a bit of some stuff. For example, GitHub theme. This is the light theme, right? I have the light theme for coding. You'll see the black theme. I like this much more than the dark theme. It's much easier on the eyes, especially because you'll focus on code and all the time, and it's gonna get annoying over time to focus on like very dark background, light text, and so on. So for me, this works much better. So if you want, you can install all those plugins. Beautify, it helps you with highlight the code, or helps you when you click and save the file, it will format the file in a like standardized way that you set in a file. It doesn't matter. So these are a bunch of plugins you can install just now. Don't think about them, just install for now. And then in this project, in this repository here in environment setup, you have this settings JSON file. So basically take this entire thing, copy it, and then go to the VS Code. Once you install the extensions, only after that, click on this cog icon here, click on settings, and then click on this top right small icon, and then here just copy paste the entire thing, and then click save that file. Once you do that, then those are like all the settings, like which theme to use, for example. So you see all these, or not there, wait, give me a second. So you see all these little dots, each dot representing like a small space, like, I don't know, those are like very small things that for me, they make me more productive as a developer. So if you want them, these settings you just copied and saved will apply all these changes to your VS Code application. So one more important thing is this is called a terminal, and it's basically a window where you type some commands in your system and then they will do something. You can open it by going to the terminal, new terminal in Windows. It's basically try to find this. And then for me, you have different type of terminals. I have this ZSH, and then this is basically the one for Mac OS, but that's the difference. In Windows, you have command prompt and you have PowerShell. Choose PowerShell terminal. This is very important because that terminal is a bit more modern, and some commands that I'll type here don't work in command prompt, but do work in PowerShell. So that's a very important part. The commands, like I can type something and type clear to clear it. And then let's go through very few commands we are going to use over time, and it's really not that hard. So here my path, and in Windows you'll see this path the entire time. So this is basically /users and then my username of my PC, and then some folders I got into. So for example, if I go back This is how you go back. You type cd and then space dot dot and then slash um, forward slash. This means go back one level back, and it's basically the same thing as if you were in a Windows folder and you click back button. So basically, you're literally just going through those folders in the same way, just through the terminal. So technically, when you click a back button to go to one folder back, what's happening is in the background, this command actually in a way gets executed. You just don't see that as a regular user. You need to click buttons. It's much easier for our end user for that, but this actually gets executed. So in the terminal, we are going to do this. So here, my path is /user/ my actual username. And here you can see desktop, documents, downloads, and so on. So you can basically maybe keep your code if you want to in the documents folder. So to enter a folder, now not to go back, but to enter a folder, so go forwards, you type the folder name, type cd space and then folder name. And now I'm in the documents folder, right? So here you can now keep all your coding projects and so on, for example, but you can do it wherever you want to. So now the next thing we are gonna go through is we are gonna install Node.js. So so for example, I'll show you very quickly, and this is, we are gonna get into this, sounds like too much information, but we are gonna get to what all of this is in the later tutorials. So JavaScript is a programming language of the browser, and it's basically, you can type some JavaScript here, you can say 12 plus 8 should equal 20. It doesn't matter. This is some syntax for JavaScript. Obviously, it's already logical. It doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is, this is the JavaScript window, a terminal, same as we see it in VS Code. But the difference here, this is for the browser. For this page, I currently am opening, like I'm currently in this tab. And JavaScript in the browser doesn't have the power to type a command here and then it closes your entire PC, turns it off or something crazy. Like, it doesn't have all that jurisdiction. It cannot do that. It can only manipulate stuff within this page in the browser that I'm just using. That's the power it only has, that the JavaScript in the browser. But they created a version, again, JavaScript, but for your PC, not for the browser, for your actual PC. And we're going to use that down the road. It's called Node.js, and it's basically, you can write commands in Node.js to execute that code, where you can add files, remove files from your PC actually, and much more jurisdiction, much more power than JavaScript actually has, which is in the browser. So this is the version of JavaScript which is same syntax, just a little bit more power over your entire PC actually. So just go to the Node.js and you can click download this long-term supported version. So at this moment, the recording of this video, it's 14.17.0. It's gonna be maybe something different for you, but it's important. It's LTS. It's long-term support. Once you install that, you can go to Visual Code Terminal and type Node version and then npm version. If versions pop up like this, then it means you installed it successfully, and they will show you the version you currently have. Then, after you do that, what we'll install next is Git. And then I explain in the textual version as well. So imagine when you are coding, so you will go to this link Git and then install it for Windows. For me, it says install for Mac. It doesn't matter. So imagine having a code file, right? And then you have a very complicated code in that file. And then you type something, overwrite all of that. You delete everything. You type some new code and you click save. And then if it was a basic file, where would those previous changes be? It would be overwritten forever. They would be removed, deleted forever. You will only see the latest change. And that's a huge problem, because what if you're like, oh, damn, I made a mistake. The previous code was actually better, but now it's gone. Like, you have no copy of it. So that's where Git comes in, because this GitHub, the entire thing, website is basically built around Git. What Git does is it keeps track of all the previous changes you made in certain files and folders. So you can always see the history. Whenever you push some updates to the file, you can see the history. These are called commits. Basically, history of every time I push something, some change, and I can go back to those changes in those files and revert back to them if I want to. And this is very important, because I will never lose. Anytime I push some change, I will never lose some previous changes. I can always go back to them, at least visually if I want to, or actually switch file back to that previous version of the file. This is very important, especially for coding and when multiple developers are collaborating on the same code base. This is very critical. And basically install Git, and then once you install it, when you in terminal type Git version like this, the version should pop up. And if that's the case, then the Git is successfully installed. And for now, that's it for Git. Now, as I spoke about GitHub, GitHub is a website built around Git. And basically, it's just like you have a bunch of your projects, and each project is basically like a folder. And in that folder, you have a bunch of other files and folders, right? So this is what the GitHub is, just built around the Git. And here, you can actually see all my folders and files. In those folders, I have my coding files I've done and so on. This is for the lesson, but it's the same principle. So what you're gonna do is sign up for a GitHub account, and then I don't know I think you can go to your profile from here, click on repositories tab, and then you can click basically new, and it will create a new repository. I'll just create a quick one and then I'll remove it. Create repository, it's a public one so anybody can see it. So now copy this link here or copy the one above and just type git add suffix .git into that URL, copy this entire thing, and now let's go back to our VS Code terminal. So let's say I'm in a documents folder, and here I only have a lessons folder. So now let's say here is where I want to copy the entire folder project from GitHub to my PC locally. So now in my PC locally, I can create folders and files and then push some updates. So I basically want to connect that folder from GitHub, that entire project, copy it over to my PC so I can locally work in it. So what you are going to do is type git clone and then copy that URL. And as soon as you do that, now basically see we have a new folder, we can enter it. And then basically now this is our GitHub project. I'm actually in the folder. And now what you are going to do is go to the documents and then drag it to this sidebar here so we can add it and we have access to that folder here from VS Code. Now, initially when you do this first time, they will tell you, the Git will tell you have to enter a few things. Let me just quickly go back to the learning repository. So here in the textual version, I already wrote exactly what you need to type. So here, they will tell you to set up Git locally. You'll have to type git config -- global user.name, user.email, user.name, and just type your actual email. So you need to tell your terminal VS Code who you are when you are pushing some updates to your GitHub profile, so it knows that that's you, like you are. It's who owns the GitHub repository. It doesn't matter. Basically, just gives you some recognition in that sense for Git to know who is doing this. So just type these commands, and then you should be good for that part. And then another thing we are going to do is connect your VS Code to GitHub. So I'm going to sign out at the moment. So type this, click on this icon, second icon from the bottom, click sign in to see in settings, click sign in with GitHub, and then basically approve it, click continue, authorize it. You'll maybe see some different steps here comparing because I was already logged in, but doesn't matter. Just click all of these things, green buttons, open, la la la, and it basically says I'm successfully signed in. So now my VS Code is connected to my GitHub, and anytime I push some changes, it knows that that's me, and it will allow me to push some changes to my GitHub repository. So let's say here we make a file. It's like a test txt file, whatever it is, and we have some content inside. So in order to push this change, and this is basically the last thing I'm going to explain, is basically we are going to type these three commands every time we want to push something. So basically we are currently in the folder, and you can see my path here, /user /Lazar Eric /document /QWE, and that's my project in GitHub. That's the project. Here I'm gonna type git add and then dot, meaning git add all the changes we made in the code base. We want to push all of them. Then type git commit and then space -m and then in quotes any message. So some message, whatever it is. Basically the message is you are saying to developers you are collaborating potentially with, okay, during this code update, I changed these things, or this is what I'm trying to push now, and blah, blah, blah. And then type git push. And it's basically gonna push any changes we made to our GitHub repository. So remember the project was QWE, and then if I go there now, before it was empty repository, empty project. Now we pushed our local file we just made through the terminal into our GitHub account project here, right here. And that's pretty much it. Now you can share this link with your friends or other coders if you want to collaborate with them on this project, and all of them can push some updates here. You can push and la. If somebody else pushes an update and your current local files are not synced with that update, you can type git pull and it will pull all the things you don't already have locally that somebody else pushed. You can pull them down. So basically the copy of what they did, pull it, sync it with your current local version. And then once you pull that, then you can push your updates and say git add, git commit, basically the whole thing, right? And then git push, essentially. That's pretty much it. So now from now on, you'll just create new projects, copy them, clone them down locally here, create some coding files, and then push those updates to your GitHub repository. And that's how you do it actually in real life as a developer. That's pretty much it. Like those things right now we explained is something is going to get into your muscle memory at some point, and you're never going to think about it again. It's just the few times you do it, and that's it. From now on, we'll actually focus on coding. This was just like how you set up your own coding environment and push to a GitHub, so you'll always have your code safe and sound here. That's pretty much it. See you.